Hi, you guys. Welcome to Inside the Hem. I am Lindsay, and there has been so much information coming our way about the Big Five. So, Mimi G, who has kind of been the unofficial face of the Big Five, I feel like has been the one giving us all of this information. Anytime anything is posted news related, it's going to her account and Simplicity's account. So not just relying on Simplicity's Instagram to get us the information, they're relying on Mimi's followers as well. She just recently shared a live with Abbie. So it's Mimi and Abbie having a conversation. And I have not watched this yet, but I thought that we would watch it together. And I can give you some of my thoughts as things get brought up. So let's go ahead and get into it.
So I have known Abbie for over a decade now, and I credit her so much with my mainstream success because Abbie is the one who signed me to Simplicity back in, I think our first meeting was in like a long time ago, over 10 years. And she had an enormous amount of trust in me.
I thought it would be longer than that.
And gave me a chance, something that wasn't being done at the time. And I have spent a lot of time with her over the years, and I can tell you she is a mentor to me, in my head anyway. I don't know if she knows this, but she is. And she's probably one of the most passionate people that I've met. She's honest and fair. And I'm just really excited for you guys to meet her. So I am going to see if I can, listen, I told you I went on. We had a little run through yesterday. We're good.
I'm good. Thank you. Okay.
Bravo to the team. Listen.
Okay, that part is super interesting to me because it's like,
I have notes.
why can't I pause this? Okay, super interesting to me because seriously, neither one of them know how to run an Instagram live. I don't know. Technology is going to be a big part of the Big Five going forward. I think that's one of the things that we kind of have all been asking of them is to make more technological advances, kind of keep up with the independent pattern. So I don't know, but not being able to do an Instagram live, it's not sending the strongest message initially.
I had to write down my questions because I already knew. I'm just so excited, and I'm actually a little nervous, even though I've known you for over 10 years. But before we get started, Abbie,
Why am I shocked to hear that Mimi G gets nervous? I just thought she's like Superwoman. Who would she be intimidated by?
To confirm two questions that we are getting asked. One, will paper patterns still continue?
We are going to have paper patterns as long as I am alive.
How old is she?
Will everyone who previously purchased patterns prior to this whole transition, will they remain able to get access to their PDF patterns?
Yes, we know there are issues currently with the PDF patterns. We know that there are problems with the library. We will solve the problem, and no matter what, you will get your PDFs back. It's a problem that has occurred due to the fact that in a bankruptcy, things are sold in a totally different way than any other time during a merger or acquisition, and we only receive the assets. We did not receive the server where all the PDFs are held. So we have spent the whole weekend working on this, and I am sure that it will be solved. It will be fine at some point. Just bear with us. We're working on it.
I mean, okay, at some point, at some time, that's also not getting me the most amount of confidence. But what she's saying, if you don't understand, is that, and I had to do a whole bunch of research about this too. I didn't understand it going into it either. But they were only sold the library of patterns, like the backlog of patterns and the library of patterns. So everything else that it takes to run that business, the back end of the website, the email programs, all the marketing stuff, their lease is not included in the sale. So they have to figure out, okay, we have this product. They have to re-engineer, I guess, how to go about selling it and getting it to all of us. So that's what she means when she says that like the back end stuff was not a part of the sale. That's what she means. So I can't imagine what kind of undertaking that is.
Okay, so I have some questions.
Also, why
for
is
you,
Mimi
Abbie.
just
So the
laughing?
first one is, and I mentioned this when I did my video, is your first job right out of
must know more
college
than
was
we know.
working for Simplicity, writing instructions. Do you remember the first pattern you wrote instructions for?
The summer that I started in 1983 was the summer of the strap. So at the time when you were a writer, you became good at something. So every pattern that had a strap on the back of the dress, I wrote. I wrote that summer. I remember that the changeover of people constantly was amazing. There was probably at the time maybe 20 or 30 writers, and people would come in and out all the time. And legitimately in March, I got my first Gunny Sax number to write. So I started in June and this was March. And I knew that once you got a Gunny Sax number, you were there for life. And I was like, I don't want to be a writer the rest of, although it's a great job and you have to be amazingly talented. I talked too much. And so I was like, once I got a Gunny Sax number, I knew it was time that I had to move on.
Got
it. First of all, if you notice the lag in the video, that's not me, that's not you, that is her internet. I'm assuming she's working from home. I don't think they have an office. I don't know. Wherever she's working from, the internet is not great, which is why her connection is bad, but Mimi's is good, mine is good, so on and so forth. I mean, I guess it was 40-ish years ago, but talking about turnover, that feels a little icky. Do we have to bring that up?
It's funny. I told Brittany, I said, I bet you she remembers.
Unlike Deb Kryling, who used to work here, who would remember the exact number that she wrote, course. I only knew that it had a strap on the back. There was
okay. The fact that they're bringing up Deb, oh my gosh. Okay, you guys may not be as into the lore of everything going on if you're not that present on Instagram, but Deb was very vocal when she got let go. You might remember her. Super curly, short hair, glasses. I remember seeing her, I mean, it must have been a couple of months after she got let go, which I'm pretty sure let go, quit, stopped working for the company. She was at the So Expo in Puyallup, and she was unhappy. She had been with the company for a long time, maybe as long as this lady had been there. Maybe they started around a similar time, and made it sound like it was she was blindsided. Gosh, I have not seen her or heard from her in so long. I wonder if she's even online anymore. Yeah. Super vocal about her not being with the company anymore. Really interesting that she brings her name up. I wonder if they're considering bringing her back. I wonder if she would go back. Interesting. Okay.
I think, and at the time they would bring you down to the pattern room and discuss how you were going to put the strap on. And every time you would go down, there would be a new description on how to put the straps on. So it was quite interesting.
So I know your mom was a seamstress and she taught sewing for many, many years. Is she the one who taught you to sew?
Yes, my mother was a home ec teacher and taught sewing for 45 years. She learned how to sew through the 4-H programs and was an amazing seamstress. She was the type of person that when I was growing up, I was an only child for 10 years. I had a new outfit for every event, a bow that matched every dress. And I always had something that was made by my mother. And then probably when I was in 6th grade, I really started. My mother always had me near the sewing machine, letting me cut up fabric and do things around the sewing machine. And then when I got into sixth grade, that's when home ec was at the school level, and I was like so much more advanced than everybody else in the class that the home ec teachers just let me do whatever I wanted to make. And then in high school, they actually let me have like a private. They didn't teach clothing in the class, the school I went to, so they let me just have independent study, and I would go in the classroom and sew instead of go to art or something like that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. So, I obviously know so much about you, but one of the things that I'm personally impressed by is that you became the youngest VP in company history. I think you were 30 years old when that happened. So looking back, what would you tell that 23-year-old who started writing instructions about where she would be?
Loved home sewing. I always loved the pattern business. I was excited when I got the first job here at Simplicity. I met great people. Some of them are still here. I've had a great experience. And, at 30, I was 30 years old. I had just had my twins. And they asked me if I was going to come back, and they told me that they were going to make me vice president. And it was an
From
experience
maternity leave?
that I learned so much about how business runs and the difference between just making things look pretty and how it works behind the scenes.
Your journey with Simplicity
they didn't say what job she had from 23 until 30 though. But she leaves for maternity leave, and then they call her up and say, "Hey, please come back. We'll make you VP."
Really inspiring. I mean, you spent 34 years climbing that corporate ladder. Was there a department that you worked in during that time that you enjoyed the most?
Not the pause.
Every department that I worked in, I learned something. Whether it was a life lesson of working in the fabric library for Robbie Rappaport, who was bigger than life and was legendary in the sewing business at that time, or working in the sales department and seeing how talking to the customers, our actual retailers at the time. And then going into the craft department at the time when we started the craft department here at Simplicity, it was 1991, and the fashion business had had changed because of all that fast fashion that was out there in the market, and people were really starting to craft more in the stuffed bunny, and that's really where I became more involved in actually the pattern making and how the designs get put in the line and understanding the merchandising of how we plan everything out. And then when we were sold a couple of times, I went through presentations with prospective new owners. And at one point, I ended up working with Strategic Industries. And at that point, there were two men who were running the business who really helped make me a better manager, a general manager, and really taught me the behind the scenes of the business world. And those were always things that I was really scared about. Like I used to always say, I don't do math. I don't do numbers. I'm much more creative. And they taught me how to do numbers. And if I don't do the numbers, I have a really strong person behind me that does do the numbers. That's a shout out to Terry Holbrook.
Definitely. So you spent 34 years with Simplicity, and when Wilton sold to CSS, and I've been along for so many of these sort of changes and transitions, you decided...
I think the order was Wilco, CSS, CSS to DGA, DGA to Abbie.
To retire. You wanted to spend more time with your family, and you had put in a good 34. That's a long time with one company. And after you retired in 2020 during COVID, I got a call from the president at the time of Design Group Americas, and he wanted to meet with me because he had just acquired this company and didn't really know what was happening with this pattern business, and asked me what I thought he needed. And I said, "You need Abbie Small." And after that conversation, because I told him There's nobody who knows this business better or who has more experience than Abbie. After he called you, what did he say, or was there something you personally felt was unfinished business that brought you out of retirement?
Okay, so I know Mimi's a baller. I didn't know she was balling like that. Where new presidents are calling her, she knows she's smart. That Mimi G, she is smart. Interesting. Okay.
I would say he was a great salesman.
He was.
And it was COVID, and nobody was doing anything then, right? I had never thought I would go back to work at another job. Like it was never that I was going to go find. It was COVID. Things changed. I wasn't going to have to commute into the city 5 days a week. We were learning how to work more virtual. There were a lot of benefits at the point that made it easier for me to jump back into the swimming pool of work. And so it was more COVID and sitting around and, you know what, this is something that I can do. I've done it before and I was ready. And of course, you didn't make it easier for me either because you kept on calling me and telling me that you needed me to come back. So
I was trying to save
the facts on the table here.
Did you catch that? Mimi said, I was trying to save it, which means the pattern companies have been on the chopping block for a while. Maybe that guy even called her and was like, listen, like, we're not going to keep this around unless we can figure out a way to do X, Y, and Z. And so Mimi said, bring this lady in, she'll fix all your problems.
There have been so many changes. There have been a lot of conversations around what has happened since the bankruptcy was made public. What was the difference about this bankruptcy versus previous acquisitions that maybe the people in the community don't fully understand? And is that right? The reason you keep referring to it as a 200-year-old startup?
Okay. Ever since I saw that written out somewhere, 200-year-old startup, has been like, I had a chip on my shoulder about it. I don't know. It feels like, forget all the things that we've done that you may not like. Forget all the corporate stuff that we've done that, made you unhappy. Like, we had nothing to do with that. This is all new and different. But it's not all new and different because you still got Abbie. She was with a company originally in corporate. You've got Mimi, obviously deeply embedded within the corporate system. So that term was always just rubbing me the wrong way. So I'm interested to hear what she has to say.
Yes. Well, first of all, bankruptcy is a very different thing than being sold. When you sell a company to somebody else, they come in, you kind of wine and dine them, you show them the benefits, you show them your balance sheet, you show them everything about your business, and you sell them on the opportunity to love this company and do this job. When it's bankruptcy, you don't do any of that. What ends up happening is a liquidator takes over your company. A liquidator just hires a company to go out and offer it up as an auction item. Nobody really learns anything about the inner workings of the company or what they're buying unless they ask the question. So the ironic thing for me was, having been part of a sale of this company so many times, to see that this was being done in a totally different way. It never occurred to me until probably late in August that there was a chance that the liquidator would decide that we would not go forward, that they would make more money selling our assets, selling our current product, the inventory that we have, and not move forward with the brands and the business the way we know it today.
August? From what I know, she bought this 2 weeks ago. The auction was like in late September. So what, she's just thinking that like the liquidators are going to keep, it's like DGA is an umbrella and you have all these little parts underneath it, and the sewing pattern business was one of those. She just assumed that it was going to stay part of it And then in August, she realizes that they might actually just close it up. And so that's when she raises her hand. So in 2 months, she got the capital, she got all the stuff together to buy this. That feels like not a long amount of time. You know what I'm saying? That feels like she realized it and just started making calls. That had to be how it was.
Which was a really scary thought for us. So was that sort of the moment?
And that also means that people like Mimi, who on the surface all summer long, all year long, have been like business as usual. You know, you saw all those other videos that she made, and you know, she's out there, you know, promoting all these fall patterns that just came out and all of that kind of, everybody that was like deeply embedded in it. More, I mean, I guess Mimi mostly because she is so like forward facing with the company. She genuinely had no idea what was going on either. So she's probably counting her days more so than any of us were. I mean, we were worried about losing pattern resource, right? But she's worried about losing like a big chunk of her livelihood, I'm sure. I can't imagine just the not knowing part.
Or you felt you wanted to step in?
Yes, that would be when I realized that the business was not going to move forward and that there was a very good chance that the liquidation would occur and the brands would be sold.
And you saved the day. I wanted to know,
no comment
what
on that
are
from
maybe
her.
some of the freedoms or challenges that you are now currently facing without the backing of a huge corporation?
Okay, I also want to point out, not one time did she mention the term 200-year-old startup. She kind of danced around that question a little bit. Mimi specifically asked her, why are you calling it a 200-year-old startup? We didn't really get that answered.
Well, right now, I would say there are a lot of challenges because one of the things that people don't understand with this kind of an asset purchase, which is what we did, we purchased the assets of the company. None of the back-end systems.
So assets of the company only include product, maybe some IP. It's like the back catalog, the historical catalog, all of the vintage stuff. Maybe the logo and all that kind of stuff was also included, but it's not real estate. It's not any of those other things.
With this, those assets were part of DGA. So the shipping methods, the transportation methods, the inventory controls, the ERP systems, all of our servers were intermingled with a much larger company. And once you have all that kind of intermingling, they don't want to separate it because it costs them money. So we're kind of rebuilding all of our systems, which will be better for us in the long run. It's going to be a very painful, probably 4 months for us. Right down from the website has to have a new back end built. It has to have new shipping methods. We are shipping still for the website, but there are some glitches here and there, and I can't say enough about people to just please bear with us because we know and we're trying really hard, and we have great tech people that are really trying to get us set as quickly as possible. I mean, we're looking for new real estate space. One of the things that did not come with the building, with our sale, was where we currently make our patterns. And once we decided that we wanted to renegotiate with the landlord's like, well, you didn't sign a lease, so, good luck. So, I mean, today I was out looking at new space to move.
I doubt they'll be in Manhattan any longer.
So there's a lot of things that get tied to a bankruptcy that makes it very different than just being sold.
So what I don't understand about that is when she said that DGA didn't want to separate that stuff because it would cost them money. So did they have the option of keeping the same stuff that DGA had used if they wanted, but they decided, you know what, it's better in the long run if we go ahead and fully sever this? Was that like a choice, or was DGA like, no, babe, you can't use our stuff anymore. Nice try. Go build all the stuff on your own. I wonder also, is there like a grace period? Like the website is, the back end of it is being built currently. So what we're seeing on the website, is that still DGA's doing, or you know what I mean? That's interesting. But 4 months. And I don't know if it's like any other estimation of time and money, but it's always doubled. So maybe 8 months. Yeah, this could be a rough year for them.
To another company.
Yeah. Do you feel we have maybe a greater ability to tackle issues going forward as a new company that maybe we were unable to do before when we were tied to Design Group America?
Okay, so this is the crux of the matter, really, when it comes to us as consumers. For so long, we were asking for finished garment measurements, more expanded size range, and it felt like it took us moving mountains, maybe really to go in and say, we have got to do this in order for them to make those changes. So this is what she's speaking about specifically, almost like asking, are all the other things, all of our other things on our wish list, are we going to be able to do those things and not have it take so much time, energy? Like, we got to catch up with what the indies are doing. That's her way of asking that, I think.
Yeah, I think that we're a pattern company now. And that's what's really important. And it's really important that we service the customer with patterns that they want to make, and that we sell them to them in our retail locations that they're available in, which is Hobby Lobby and Walmart and Amazon and on our website. And that we bring out new offerings as many times a year as we possibly can.
As many times a year as we possibly can. She didn't say 8 times a year like they normally do. Do they do? No. 4 seasons, and then some have preseasons. So like, call it 6 to 8 times a year. So what's as many times we possibly can? Is that going to change? Does that mean more often, but fewer numbers of patterns? I was talking about that a little bit in my last pattern review. That was an interesting way to phrase that,
In the size ranges that everybody wants. See, I threw that in for you, Miss Mimi. And
threw that in for Mimi. I know that Mimi probably has been like beating down the door about size inclusivity, but doesn't she realize it by now? If the CEO is like not understand, I don't love that. The CEO, as the CEO, she should understand that it's not for Mimi. It's for the plus size community, the petite size community. Interesting.
That as we continue to grow, and that's the goal of the company, is to grow. I think that we'll have more opportunity to expand into different things.
Yeah.
Okay. So her answer to, are we going to be able to make changes more quickly and easily, is she hopes we're going to be able to expand into new things. What new things? She started by saying we're a pattern company, and then she said we want to grow and expand into new things. I don't know what that means.
When I first started talking, when I started the live, I mentioned that you were the person who signed me. I think our first meeting was over 10 years ago. And I have always thought of you as a forward thinker, someone who's not afraid of taking risks. So during that time, what was sort of the drive to say, yeah, let's sign this like blogger and give her her own patterns and give her like the ability to, create what she wanted?
Well, I think that at the time you were really on the forefront of social, mm-hmm. and of creating a community. And we were not there. And we needed somebody that was going to push us to get to the place that, you and Brittany have taken us over the last 5 years. I mean, really, I don't think that we really
she's talking about Brittany J. Jones. She has a title now with Simplicity. I cannot remember what it is, but she works for Simplicity too.
Embraced the whole social aspect of the community until 5 years ago when Brittany came on, and you and Brittany really took over our social and have really grown it and have given the experience that they want.
Yeah, only 5 years have they really been focused on social, which is crazy considering how big sewing is on YouTube, how big it is on Instagram. I mean, that we all knew it, but to have somebody at the corporate level admit that, like, yeah, we didn't really do what we were supposed to do until 5 years ago. Like, they were so far behind the 8 ball. I could argue that they still haven't really caught up, despite 5 years of really hard, good work by Mimi and Brittany.
Yeah. Let's talk about digital innovations that are on the horizon. I know that we have started a couple of projects before this whole sort of thing happened, and we had to pause because we didn't know how that would work. So what are some of those things that the community can be really excited about?
Well, we know the communities really wants layered files, and we are working on that. I think one of the things that everyone should understand is that we have a pattern making system that is tied to the printing of out in Neenah, Wisconsin, that is a plate size. And for years, we created patterns that fit on that plate. And about it, I guess it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we were like, we're so far behind on the PDFs. We just have to get the PDFs out there. We have to continue growing our library. We can't keep on discarding designs without keeping them up on the website. So we jumped into the PDF arena, and they're not perfect. We know that, but it was how we were going to be able to get started and get into the arena. Since then, we have been working on layering, and the real reason we were working on layering more than anything is that we were getting ready to launch Projectables in September with Missy Poor, who is the administrator for Projectors for Sewing Facebook. And she really helped us a lot with what we needed to do for layering and all that. Unfortunately, with the sale of the company, we've had
Wait. So some woman that runs a Facebook group help them figure out how to do layered patterns? Seriously? What? That seems like you didn't know anybody? Nobody at DGA knew anybody? That's crazy.
Put the Projector patterns on pause, which is upsetting everyone here, especially since we were launching on Door Sewing Month. But I think everyone will be really pleased with when they are ready to be released, because we worked closely with Mimi and Missy to make sure that we were giving everything that the consumer was wanting in that area. And I think we now are learning how to do layers from that process, and it'll help us with our PDFs.
Definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
Okay.
I don't know how many people in the community know this, but we actually print paper patterns for some of the most popular indie pattern designers.
You don't know that?
Now, some people might look at that and think that that's sort of helping the competition, but you have a different take on that. What is it?
I believe that we just need to have the community sew. I think that as much as the community sews Simplicity, McCall's, Vogue, Butterick, any independent designer.
I get this take. That's great. That's sweet. That's, we're all in this together kind of thing. But don't they make money that way? Isn't that another line item on their balance sheet that she keeps referring to? Let's not forget the fact that the independent pattern companies are paying them to print for them.
It's just encouraging them to keep going with their hobby. And right now, let's face it, this is not an easy hobby. With the closing of Joann's, you and I it's just not I feel like sewing and I'm going to run out to Joann's anymore. Now You can get you can get some products at Hobby Lobby and some products at Walmart, but it's still not the same thing as how people who were really heavily into sewing felt
I
about
wonder
going
what
to
the Hobby
Joann's.
Lobby and Walmart
Yeah.
execs feel
And
about that statement.
I keep on saying to everybody that, you know, that's what people have to realize the PDFs are really for. It's not only for the patterns that are discarded that you can't get in any other form, but it's also for that late night sewing that you have the fabric and you've decided, I want to make a skirt. And now you can go online and find the PDF and download it at home.
Yeah,
so
we all
you
know
don't
the
have to
benefits
worry
of
about
PDF
running
patterns.
out to the store. You can always get the paper and wait a couple of days for it to be shipped to
Days?
you. Or
Days? Babe, check again. Let's talk weeks. Weeks.
something like that. But PDF's really that the bridge being able to run out to the store.
Yeah. So I think some people have assumed maybe that when we say simplicity, that only the simplicity brand is moving forward, but all of our brands are moving forward. We are one company and all of the brands are included, correct?
Yes, every brand that we have ever produced is moving forward. Simplicity, McCall's, Butterick, Vogue Patterns, Nomi, New Look. We still print for Berta, so you'll see Berta on our website.
New Look.
We print for over 100.
New Look hasn't had a new collection in months, maybe all year.
65 independent pattern makers. And we are always willing to, and we own the press. That's always another big question that gets questioned about. The pattern business owns the press that prints, that makes the paper patterns. We use a 3PL and they run the print press for us and they handle the distribution. But the press always moves with the pattern business. So paper patterns will be around as long as the pattern business is around.
Yes. I think many people are really excited at the thought of an actual sewist leading this new company. And obviously there is a money backing, right? But I really think that it's the first time that we've been able to see the face of an actual person who loves to sew, who is passionate about the business, leading this new chapter. And I know I personally am so excited, but is there anything specifically that you're excited about this next chapter, or anything that you want the community to know?
I just want the community to know that we are here. We're here and we hear them. And I'm on Facebook, and I'm not the administrator, but there's times that I haunt and say, no, you're wrong, or yes, you're right. And I think if they hold us in their hearts the way we all hold the brands in our hearts here in New York, that everyone in 6 months will be really happy about where we are. It's just going to be a little bumpy on the way.
Yeah, just a little.
I can appreciate that. Listen, this is not some small little thing that she's doing. So 6 months, okay, if it really is 6 months, I mean, that is pedal to the metal, full throttle throughout the entire holiday season. I'll be interested to see if it really is 6 months.
So at the end of the day, because you are a sewist, I'm going to ask you some questions that I think all sewists can probably relate to. So what's your biggest sewing pet peeve?
Gathering.
Yeah, I think that's that and stay stitching. Do you remember your very first sewing project?
I think it might have been a pair of white polyester bell-bottom pants with an elastic waist and a navy shirt that had a very hard smock with a squared corners, which weren't that great. But my mother was a big believer in not starting, making what you wanted to make, not what was easy. So even in all of her sewing classes, she always let whoever was in her class make what they wanted to make, and she helped them get through it, not start with a beginner project. So she did the same with me. You know what? And I do have to say one other thing is that my mother made every one of my prom dresses, or I made one of my prom dresses, and every single time I was leaving the house and there was a button still being sewn, a hem still being made. There was something still going on with every dress that I ever wore to any event like that. So when I got married, I told my mother, we are buying a store-bought dress because we are not going to be sewing stuff on it as I'm walking out the door. So it was the first store-bought gown I ever owned was the day I got married, because I was insisting that we weren't going to be sewing buttons onto something as I was walking out the door.
Now, I have seen pictures, and when I say that you sew, I need people to understand. Like, I have seen pictures of like couture, like level christening gowns and things that you have made that are, amazing. So when I say you sew, you really sew. Like,
yes.
Yeah.
Bound buttonholes.
If you could only sew with one fabric for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Shantung.
Oh, really?
Shantung. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, do you sew late at night or early in the morning?
Well, I'm one of those people that when I start a project, it's like I'm almost phobic about it. So it's an all day, all night, never stop until it's done kind of thing.
Yes.
And then I'll kind of stop for a while and then I'll start again for another. My daughter, when she was a senior in high school, her and her 15 friends went for Halloween as the Care Bears, and I made all 15 Halloween costumes. So I'll have to send that to you guys to post in Instagram, the picture of the 15 girls all as Care Bears.
Yes, because I think everybody wants to see. Everybody wants to see your work.
That was a project that actually took up the dining room table and just was amazing, the experience. But that's the kind of projects that I do a lot now, more of than I used to.
And do you sew for the grandbabies?
Not as much as I should. You know, it's really funny. And it's funny because Mimi knows this about me. When we pick the line, I'm always saying to them, don't show me something I can buy at Target or Walmart. Like, a grandmother wants to make something that's special and that everybody's going to say, I made that for my granddaughter. So having two granddaughters, I'm always...
Pick the line, meaning picking out which patterns are going to get produced. I just assume they produced all ideas that were brought to them. Secondly, they're being picky about that, and they're looking for things that you can't find at Target, because have you seen any of the stuff you guys have produced over the last 2 years? Very, very much just find it at Target. So if that's the kind of judgment, I guess, that she's bringing to the new company, maybe we can start to expect some high level design. I don't know if she meant to say that or meant to allude to that, but I mean, like I literally was just saying in the last first impression video, there were like 4 button-down shirts in one collection. Okay.
To myself, I really should sew for them. And ironically, now with the way the job has changed, it'll be interesting when I finally get around to that.
Yeah, isn't that always the issue? Do you have a favorite pattern, like a TNT?
No, I don't think so.
I heard something about the vintage vault. Can you talk about it?
Vintage vault.
Well, so part of the sale of the company, the assets, we acquired all of the Butterick Vogue historic products that they were in a museum or pseudo museum in Berwick, Pennsylvania, where our
It's a pseudo museum.
parent company was. So part of the sale was that we acquired all them. That over 200 boxes of historic Butterick Vogue, and I believe some McCall's product has been moved to New York. And when we get into our new office space, we'll be going through it all.
That's really exciting.
And what are they doing
I can't
with
wait
it?
for that.
The other thing that's very exciting about Vintage, which is in January, we'll be introducing Jessica McClintock and Gunny Sax, which that is one of the requests.
Okay. Way to bury the lead, guys. Jessica McClintock as a Simplicity exclusive designer, Gunny Sax in January. January is like right around the corner. So that must have already been decided on as well, because they would have had to do all that work months ago for it to come out in January. But we should have led with that. That's really exciting.
After Diane von Furstenberg came out, we've gotten requests for Gunny Sax and Jessica McClintock, and unfortunately, we just didn't know how to reach out to them and get them signed out. We just heard over the summer, I believe it was Jessica McClintock's daughter who reached out to us and said, would you want to reintroduce my mother's things? And so we'll be reintroducing all of that in January.
That's really exciting.
That is exciting.
So
we're also getting ready for the 250th anniversary. So you'll be seeing a lot of our country. So we're doing a lot of historical costumes for the 250th anniversary.
Yes.
And you're going to be able to dress your geese in every possible way.
I mentioned that.
The geese are so popular.
Oh, I know. And you're going to be able to dress them like Uncle Sam and the Statue of Liberty. And I think Ben Franklin. You can do like a whole
250
historical
of the country?
geese front yard.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. The country.
I wanted to make sure that everybody knows
she's
that
a patriot.
we recently did a podcast episode with Abbie Glassenberg of Craft Industry Alliance, and it is on that podcast. I'm going to post it in my stories because I think it's so important that everybody listen to that episode. You went into a lot of detail, more detail than I even thought, and I was really impressed by how open you were and how authentic you were. And I think that you were able to clear up so much of the misinformation that we have all seen, on YouTube, on Instagram, people, trying to make sense of everything that was happening. And you did an excellent job of sort of talking about what that process has been like for you, not just currently, but over sort of your entire career. And listen, it is very eye-opening, and it does give you a lot of insight into where we are now, maybe why we're having some of the hiccups and things that we're having, and where we're trying to go and what we're trying to do for the community. You did good.
This is a new front for me. I'm usually behind the scenes, not in front of the camera, or in front of the podcast. And I usually always push somebody else to do all of this. But I think that it's important for the community to understand that this was a Hail Mary for us to keep this business going and to keep the pattern business alive and these brands alive. And that's one of the reasons why I am being as vocal about it, is because we really need everybody's backing and support, because we are very challenged at the present time. And we know that the community will be around for us, but we just need them to know that be patient.
Yes, I agree. I think I really am excited.
That makes it feel like she's taking a really big risk, right? I don't know. I almost got emotional. I don't know if she was getting a little bit caught up in the emotion of it too, or maybe she's just really tired and stressed. I don't know. But that made it feel like she's saying, like, please don't give up on us. Like, I believe in this company. I've been with this company for a long time. I've been sewing at home with these patterns for a long time, and just like stick it out with us for a little bit longer. And there's going to be light at the end of the tunnel. but that she's well aware of the fact that they are losing market share and that more and more indie companies are popping up every single day. I'm sure she sees the comments where people are like, I used to sew Big Five, but I stopped. I only sew indie now, you know, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, that is probably the thing that I will take away from this the most. Like, the first pattern you sewed, I could really care less, but that feels like the passion that really got me.
About the fact that maybe now we're able to be more transparent. You know, with my own personal brand, I'm very transparent, and I think that's important for every brand. And so I thought it was important that people know who you are and see your face and understand that this is a real person trying to keep these legacy brands alive. And it takes a lot of hard work, and it takes a lot of people that are rallying behind you, including me and the community, to make it happen. And so I thank you for your leadership, and I thank you for your time today. And you know this because I've said it many of times. I am honored to stand by you on this journey, and I will rock this until the wheels fall off.
I believe
Well, I want to say that we have a very loyal and faithful workforce here that have been here for a really long time, and I don't think that we could do this without them. And they are dedicated. They are trying their best to do everything they can to keep things moving along, and I really appreciate everything that everybody's doing, and especially what you're doing, Mimi and Brittany and Raven, with our social and getting the word out for everybody to know that we are still around and we will still be selling paper patterns.
Thank you so much, Abbie. I know everybody's going to be really excited to hear from you, and I thank you again. Thank you guys for watching, and you know, I will try and answer as many questions as I can, but I'm going to link to that podcast episode. I think that Abbie did an amazing job of sort of clearing a lot up and giving us sort of like an inside look at how this all came about. So thank you guys so much for watching. Until the next time, peace.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay, so that's the end. Interesting. I do think that whole thing could be summed up by the last couple of minutes there, where they were really trying to humanize her. They were really trying to position the company corporatize it, because I think that it's gotten that stigma over the years that it's corporate, it's stodgy, it's slow to make changes, it doesn't care about the consumer, it doesn't see our needs, it, you know, all blah, 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 all those things that we have sort of like latched onto with some big companies. This was their attempt to say, I'm just a grandma. I'm just a home sewer. I'm just someone who's been sewing my entire life and worked for Simplicity for all these years. And, you know, I'm the one taking charge of this. They did like diminish the financial backers, where it made it seem like they were not going to be involved in any decision making at all. So overall, a pretty positive reaction coming out of that. Some of the things were bumpy, right? I don't think she's had a whole lot of PR training, and that's okay. Again, it will be a matter of putting action to these words. So in 6 months, that's how long she said it would take, for us to kind of hold on, let them get through these kinks, and then they will reemerge as the Phoenix, right? Isn't that the Phoenix who? Anyways, so yeah, it'll be interesting to see, just to watch it all play out, right? Like, I am a big five consumer. I also consume indie patterns, but I'm not someone that's just going to sit idly by and support a company that isn't supporting me in return. So I'm willing, right? I'll wait. I'll sit back. I'll see what happens. And then as consumers, as always, we have the choice of where our money goes. So if our money goes to Big Five, if our money goes to an indie pattern company, if it goes to both of them, whatever it is, we have the choice. But this does feel very promising. It does feel, right? it gives me a lot of hope. So that's good. I think that's a really good thing. So, but yeah, stay tuned. I will be continuing to update you guys as things come about with all of this. With any updates that they have, I'll continue to do the first impression videos as new collections are released. So keep it here. But that's going to do it for me today. I will see you all very soon. Gonna go feed the monsters now. Okay, bye.